Good evening. This is Heartstock Radio, and I'm your host, Carol Murphy. Thanks for listening. Today, our guest is Paddy Fleming. He's the director of Montana Manufacturing Center in Bozeman, Montana. In just a moment, he will be back and tell you all about what he is up to. Remember that you can find us on Facebook. You can also email us at heartstockradio@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. Just a moment, we'll be back with Paddy Fleming.
This land was made for you and me. As I went walking that ribbon of highway, I saw.
This is Heartstock Radio, and I'm your host, Carol Murphy. With us is Paddy Fleming. Hi, Paddy.
Hi, Carol.
Thank you so much for being our guest and once again sharing what it is that you are up to. Please give our listeners just a little introduction as to what it is that Montana Manufacturing Extension Center is.
Sure. The Montana Manufacturing Extension Center is a public-private entity based at Montana State University, whose goal is to grow Montana's economy by helping manufacturers in Montana succeed.
And give us a little bit of information about the history of our particular center here in Montana and how it fits in with the others that are out there in the United States.
Sure. The National Institute of Standards and Technology, also known as NIST, funded a program in the late 80s called the Manufacturing Extension Partnership. And they wanted a manufacturing extension center in every single state. So in 1996, a professor at Montana State University applied for the grant and got it. He then had to get matching funds from the Montana legislature, which he did. And we also have to charge our clients for our services. And that is the third leg of our funding stool. So that's how this center got started. Our first client ever was Spencer Williams, who owns West Paw Design in Bozeman. And he was a one-man show working out of a garage at the time. And now he has a very successful company that's Montana's first B Corporation.
Oh, that's exciting. Yes, we've had several guests on before on Heartstock that were either working in the B Corp community or B corporations themselves. And how about yourself? What's your background and how did you get involved in manufacturing, Paddy?
Sure. I grew up on a small farm and ranch near the town of Charlotte, Montana. Did fairly well in math and science in school, so everybody told me I should be an engineer. Went to college at Montana State University and got a degree in mechanical engineering. And then my first job out of college was making machinery for the paper industry. So I was hooked on manufacturing from then on. I worked in manufacturing for about 10 years and got my master's degree in business before I was able to get a job in Montana. And that was in 2001 when I finally got to come back to Montana and work for the Montana Manufacturing Extension Center. And at the time, I was the field engineer for Northwest Montana, and I was based in Kalispell.
So as a youngster, what did you do, and do you think that in any way prepared you for being an expert in manufacturing?
Well, I spent a lot of time working on farm machinery, so I think I probably enjoyed doing that much more than bucking bales. So maybe that was my inspiration.
So bucking bales, just in case you're in Chicago or New York, can you explain what that is, Paddy? This is very important. I learned the same lesson, and it's important.
Sure. It's walking around in a field and picking up 50-pound bales of hay and throwing them onto a truck, stacking them on the truck, driving the truck into a barn or a stacking place, unloading them and restacking them.
Which is an awful lot of fun if you're doing it as a child. But after about the first 2 hours, you realize this is really, really hard work. And you start thinking about other options in life.
Yes, you do.
So where did you go to undergrad?
Montana State University in Bozeman, Montana.
And you said you got your master's. Where did you do that at?
I did that in Chicago through Olivet Nazarene University, and it was in conjunction with the Motorola company.
Oh, okay. So were you working for Motorola at the time, and did they help you get through your master's?
I was not. I was working for International Paper, but Motorola designed this MBA program, and they had a couple extra openings, so they opened it up to a few other people, and I was one of the fortunate people that got to go through the program with the Motorola folks.
And that was a business degree?
Yes.
Excellent. So let's go back to what you were talking about before, all of the other jobs that you did before you got to come back to Montana. Where did you work, and what were some of the pearls that you were able to bring back to help you do what you're doing currently?
Sure. I worked pretty much all over the U.S. and Europe. I started as a plant engineer and worked my way up to general manager, so I was in charge of the full facility with usually about 100 to 150 employees, usually a 3-shift operation, 5 days a week. One of the things I learned was, I guess, how to work with people, both union and non-union. Also learned that any process can be improved, and I think I really learned that there's a lot of satisfaction in doing manufacturing. It's very satisfying to see trucks leaving your dock full of product that you produced.
Mm-hmm. And then what brought you back to Montana? What was that job that allowed you to come back here?
The job was working for the Montana Manufacturing Extension Center as the field engineer for Northwest Montana. So that's what brought me back. Was the reason I came back is I just have a love of the state of Montana and wanted to get back ever since I left.
It's good to be home, huh?
It sure is.
And what did you find when you first came back to Montana? You mentioned that you had, that Spencer Williams was your first client, and I would imagine it's changed quite a bit since then. What year was that?
That was the year 2001 in January. Yes, Montana has changed considerably since then. Manufacturing was struggling at the time. I was used to large corporate manufacturing facilities where things were pretty established, rules, procedures, policies, and I came upon a lot of small manufacturers, oftentimes less than 10 employees, that actually didn't know what they didn't know. So might not have had very good safety procedures, but didn't even know that they were supposed to have good safety procedures. A lot of our Montana manufacturers are farmers and ranchers that maybe came up with an idea and started making it and now own a manufacturing company. So they've never actually worked for another manufacturing company where the policies and procedures are already set.
So I would imagine that leaves a lot of room for innovation. Like you said, when you don't know what you don't know. Did those early days teach you anything new about manufacturing that early on may have not been in your wheelhouse?
Yeah, I learned a lot about statistical process control and quality management systems, and really the realization that no matter how good the manufacturer is, they can always improve on safety, quality, on-time delivery, productivity, etc. And to be successful, you have to have a mentality in your business of constant improvement where nothing is ever good enough. You can always improve on it.
Mm-hmm. And then eventually, kind of tell us the story as to how you eventually became director.
Yeah, sure. I actually left MMEC after 2.5 years and worked for another manufacturer in the Flathead Valley. Then an opening came up at Montana State University with another program called MilTech, where we did similar things, but our customer was the Department of Defense. So for 6 years, I traveled around the nation to military bases and helped them improve operations and advance their technology to help out the warfighter. And then the director position at Montana Manufacturing Extension Center came open in 2015. So that's how I got back to MMEC.
And as the director, give us an idea of what your day is filled with and how you go about helping manufacturers in Montana.
So we have 6 remotely located field engineers or business advisors throughout the state. Their job is to go out, meet with manufacturers and ask them what's holding them back and offer assistance in any way possible. So they write proposals and hopefully manufacturers will take them up on that. So I manage the 6 of those folks. Also within our office, we've got marketing and financial management. So we manage the finances and try to promote the center and the work of the 6 field engineers. So that's how we try to help out Montana's manufacturing community.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the field engineers, where they are, and maybe some of the areas of expertise that they work in?
Sure. Our most senior right now is Alistair Stewart. He's got an MBA from Northwestern University. He is in the Bozeman area, handling Southwest Montana. He is very expert at mergers and acquisitions. He helps Montana manufacturers who are looking to exit their business. A lot of baby boomers are looking to sell their business, and he tries to help them get the value up before they sell. So he's an exit planning strategist. He's also amazing at continuous improvement and operational excellence. We have Dave Allard, also in Bozeman. Dave is a chemical engineer by trade, and Dave covers the whole state, but he is a food safety expert and a process expert. So he tries to help all the food manufacturers in Montana comply with FDA rules. We have Shane Cantrell. He's got an undergrad and a master's degree in industrial engineering, and he is located in Missoula, covering west central Montana. He is very good at helping our clients attract and retain employees in these times of very sparse employees. We have 3 new ones. We have Sherry Bartz. She's in Billings. She's an ex-plant manager from Boeing. She grew up in Hanover. So she is very good at management and teaching people how to be better supervisors and plant managers. She's covering all of eastern Montana. We have Doug Roberts, who's located in Great Falls. He's an MBA as well. He is very good at product costing. So right now he's helping the prison system and prison industries adjust their costs on their woodwork, such as desks. And finally, we have Jeff Pierce. And Jeff comes to us from Hewlett Packard. He's also got an MBA. And he is very astute at the theory of constraints, which is a continuous improvement model.
We're at about that halfway point, so we're going to take a momentary music break here, and we will be right back with Paddy Fleming of Montana Manufacturing Extension Center. Thanks for listening. This is Heartstock. Thanks for listening again. This is Hardstock Radio, and I am your host, Carol Murphy. Today, we have Paddy Fleming, who's the director of Montana Manufacturing Extension Center in Bozeman, Montana. And we were just talking about what he does and how they're going about helping people in Montana become better manufacturers. And, you know, I think it would be really good to share with our listeners now, Paddy, a little bit about how we stack up to other states in the country, because there are sister organizations in every state. And yeah, maybe a little information about, you know, why it is that we're so different here.
Sure. So 30, 40 years ago, Montana's manufacturing pretty much consisted of lumber mills, oil refineries, and mining operations. They were big corporations with large numbers of employees. Columbia Falls Aluminum would be another one, Plum Creek, all the lumber mills. Now we've become a state of small manufacturers that are entrepreneurial. So Montana's been ranked as the number one entrepreneurial state in the nation for 4 years running. We're also the fastest growing state in the nation for the number of manufacturing employees, but we also have the smallest in the nation average size manufacturer. So 83% of our manufacturers have less than 20 employees. So they are small and they're competitive. They're usually doing something quite innovative. Montana's shipping costs, shipping in and out of Montana, are prohibiting a lot of commodity style manufacturing, so we don't see a lot of that. We are seeing also a lot of bigger corporations coming into Montana and buying small manufacturers. Now, I don't think any of those big corporations ever thought that they really needed a location in Montana. I think it just happened that there were manufacturers that were attractive. So, for instance, Semi-Tool out of Kalispell was purchased by Applied Materials a few years ago. We have Boeing came into Montana and purchased Summit Aviation in Helena. Got GlaxoSmithKline in Montana now. We've got FLIR in Bozeman. So I think we're going to continue to see the big companies come in and purchase Montana manufacturers. And so far, none of them have shut down the facility and left. So that's very good. We are also seeing in Montana a huge amount of growth in food and beverage manufacturing. Sometimes that's also called value-added ag. But when you think about it, Montana produces an amazing amount of food, agricultural products, and very little of it is processed in the state of Montana. So we ship out lots of raw agricultural commodities, and the money's really in processing it. So we are starting to see some movement there. We've got a great little craft malting facility going in Butte right now. We just got a pea processing facility in Cut Bank, Montana, actually 10 miles west on the Blackfeet Indian Reservation. It's providing 10 jobs. There's also a pea processing facility in Plentywood right now. So we continue to talk with people who are interested in meat processing facilities in Montana, egg processing facilities. We even had one we were talking to yesterday about processing dates. So food and beverage, and of course we all know about all the breweries and wineries and distilleries in Montana. I think we have close to 80 breweries right now in the state of Montana, and that's all also using Montana grain. So those are all good.
And how about high tech? There's an awful lot happening in Montana, and that's one of the things that amazes me is the variation and the variety that your center helps. I mean, that's a big challenge. It seems to me like it would take a huge range of skill sets for your organization to be able to tackle.
It sure does. And like you said, there is a lot going on with high tech. So Bozeman, Montana is a little hub of photonics. So there's 30 plus companies now in the Bozeman area that are all doing something in the photonics industry. And for those who don't know what photonics is, it's a combination of lasers and optics. So, in fact, one of the big stories in the last couple months in Montana has been that a very large corporation came in and bought one of the photonics companies in Bozeman. And the photonics company was Blackmore Sensors, and they had just received a $15 million contract to develop LiDAR for BMW and Toyota. And LiDAR is like radar, except instead of using radio waves to bounce off things, it uses light waves. And so they're using LiDAR for the autonomous vehicles that are being made in the world these days. So they just got purchased. So yes, our staff is very versatile and knowledgeable in a lot of different areas, but we still can't be everything to everybody. So we also have a very large network of partners. We can draw on the 50 other centers in the other states where we can ask for expertise that one of them may have to come to our state and help manufacture if we don't have that expertise.
And you mentioned your funding a little bit. Can you go into some more detail about exactly where your funding comes from?
Sure. So first part is we get $624,000 a year from the National Institute of Standards and Technology. And that is based on the number of manufacturers in Montana, which is currently at about 3,000. In comparison to California, receives $15 million from NIST, where we get $624,000, based on the number of manufacturers. So second spot we get money is we need to match that money. So the legislature matches that. And then the third rung is, of course, we charge all our clients for our services. So our only caveat is that we cannot work with companies that have more than 500 employees. So this funding that from the state and from the legislature is to only be used for small manufacturers.
And that caveat of the 500 maximum employees, is that a federal mandate? Where does that come from?
It is a federal mandate, and it's based on that is the definition of a small manufacturer is less, in the federal eyes, is less than 500 employees.
Gotcha. And there seems to be a theory floating around out there that I wanted to touch base with you on, get your opinion and your take on this. Some people attribute the growing income gap here in the United States to the loss of manufacturing jobs. Do you think that there's credence to that theory?
I do think there's some to that. Manufacturing jobs pay in Montana 17% higher wages than the average wage in Montana. They often require quite a bit of skill. They are not the dirty, dingy, dead-end jobs that we used to think of. These are often very highly technical, high-skilled jobs, and they pay very well in the state of Montana. And I do think that could be the loss of those jobs over the last 50 years to overseas, I think, could be absolutely adding to the wage gap.
Is there a trend? Do you think some of that's coming back?
It is starting to come back very slowly, and there's not much fanfare about it. But companies are gradually realizing that it is easier. Sometimes it is more expensive to offshore something than they originally think it is, because you have to buy such large quantities, and returning defective products is highly expensive when it could have been just made in the States.
Mm-hmm. Well, that certainly is encouraging to my ears. And, we talked a little bit about your process. If, somebody may be listening, can you give them a little bit more detail of what they could expect that process to be like working with your organization?
Sure. So at MMEC, all you need to do is call us, and we will come visit your facility, walk the floor with you, and try to find out what is keeping you up at night. After we've kind of determined what really needs to be improved in the facility, and we both agree on it, we'll go back, drop a proposal with some solutions, bring it back to you. You'll have a price on it. If you think it's a good deal, we'll we'll proceed forward. If not, we'll walk away and shake hands as friends.
And then once they actually agree, you and the manufacturer say, yes, this is a good partnership, we're going to move forward, then what's your process like moving forward from there to help them?
Sure. So it's probably a lot of times everyone's custom, but a lot of times it starts off with let's train all the employees on the basics of these theories that we're going to implement, in order to make sure that none of the employees get scared or nervous about what we're about to do, and to kind of stop the rumor mill and make them realize that they're part of it and we need their assistance, get their buy-in. So after everybody's been trained on the principles, then we'll start implementing. So, for instance, a lean manufacturing project, we would probably give everybody a 6-hour training session on what lean is, just the basics. And then after that, we'd probably do what's called a Kaizen event, where we'll pick out one area of the facility and we're going to improve a bunch of things. And that might be, we're going to clean it up, we're going to put some visual controls up, and we're going to improve the throughput. So we might take the employees out, lead them through this, where it would take, we might take a whole day just to do this. And then the next day, we'd monitor to see if our efforts did produce an improvement in the throughput.
Mm. So I'm sure there's a lot more where that all comes from. And if folks are interested in learning more, how might they find you, Paddy?
Well, we have a website. It's www.montana, that's spelled out, .edu/MMEC.
Thank you so much for being on Heartstock and sharing the wonderful work that you're doing. I get really excited every time I get to talk to you. There's a lot going on and some pretty awesome stuff.
Thank you very much, Carol. I sure enjoyed being on.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. This is Heartstock, and I'm your host, Carol Murphy. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next week. Peace.
Heartstock Radio is a production of KBMF 102.5 Butte America Radio. Hear our live programs every Friday at 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time via live stream at butteamericaradio.org.